certainly we find ourselves in a moment of acute need, right? With the energy challenges. And yet there's also a longer will, a longer desire, and a longer understanding that we all have to come up with like a sustainable model. And trying to figure out how to balance those two things has been challenging to say the least.
Yeah, I think we're right now at a time which is it's very difficult. I think so. Regulators, I think, around the world are very much driven to see how we can decarbonize, how we can move away from fossil fuels. On the other hand, we have these prices for fuel we have today. We have these supply chain issues. On the other hand, renewable energy is also not like plug and play, right? You
Yeah,
can't just switch off all the fossil fuel and switch on all the wind power and everything fine, right? It's still only a proportion of what you need to keep the lights on. So I think,
mhm,
we have there's a marketing view, which is, or I guess a more social aspirational view, which is we need to decarbonize, we need to bring climate change under control. But on the other hand, it's like infrastructure takes a long time to put in place. Those building it need to amortize their costs over someone actually paying for the service that runs on them. It's
yeah,
not a free lunch, right? And so even though, for example, for EVs, some countries are phasing out, regular what we call internal combustion engine and potentially hybrids and switch them out for EVs. But then do you have that power grid to support everyone suddenly switching to plugging in their car into their house or into a charging station? I found, if climate change is really a global issue that we're trying to achieve, and I kind of wrote this on my blog a couple of months back. I was looking at sub-Saharan Africa and how self-driving and EVs could potentially benefit them. And the number one issue I found was electrification. Like there is
mm,
simply not a strong enough power grid to just have everyone just overnight switch to EV.
yeah,
And infrastructure is not free, and implementing it and allowing people to use that also needs to make sense from a business perspective. So I think it's just an extreme example, but I think it's the same thing that everyone is struggling with, right? In certain areas like California, they have had a policy there in place for. I was surprised. I found this out just a couple of days ago. They set up the zero emission vehicle policy
mhm,
in 1990. That's like over 30 years ago, and now it's like California is a great place for yeah, they made that decision 30 years ago, and they're
yeah,
still kind of building up to it. So I think we need a kind of reality check that either we're going to do something radically different and
mm,
literally like stop investing in a whole bunch of stuff tomorrow and focus on electrification and building that infrastructure in the next 5 to 10 years, or it's going to be a more gradual process where we're
right.
going to be more pragmatic about a number of different sources and do that gradually. So there's no silver bullet.